Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polarcraft Boats, The Forward Corporation, Primal Tree Stands, Shadow Hunter Blinds, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. My name is Mike Avery with a catch in my throat. Always glad to have you along with us as we kick off this week's 3-hour celebration of the outdoor lifestyle, the history and tradition of hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping and all things fun, first of all, right? All things legal, all things ethical, all things moral, all things biologically sound, biologically necessary. And if you want to go down this road, and I will, ordained by God. This is a way of life that many of you listening to the show appreciate, understand, and embrace. But I hear all the time from people who say, Avery, I'm not a hunter, I'm not an angler, I'm not a trapper, I'm not into guns, but I listen to your show anyway. And that's what I really like to hear. Because those of us who are in this lifestyle, we're pretty firmly ensconced, right? This is what we do. This is who we are. Like in my case, I grew up in a hunting and fishing family. My grandpa hunted and fished. My dad hunted and fished. He taught me how to hunt and fish. My son James hunts and fish. The grandkids hunt and fish. So we're part of this culture, this history. Not everybody in the world today, though. And I'm going to get to that in just a minute. As I am in the studio right now, we're doing some fairly drastic time shifting, and you actually have me at a disadvantage. We're recording this show way early to cover me for being in White River, Ontario on a bear hunt. Now, as we're recording the show, obviously, I haven't left. I'm here in the studio in Michigan. As you are hearing this show, I will actually be back from that hunt. So I'm talking to you right now not knowing how it's going to go. Not knowing how the crossing over into the Ontario border is going to go. Not knowing how the hunt itself is going to go. Not knowing if I'm going to see a bear that I want to take. But if you follow me on social media by now, you know how it went. You know if I took a bear or not. I don't know. It's one of those things. I've shot several bears. I have no more room for a bear rug or a bear mount, but we do like bear meat, and I have friends who like bear meat, and they're counting on me to bring back some bear meat. It would have to be a pretty good animal. It would have to be the right animal at the right time, in the right position. Meaning, I probably would not shoot a bear the first night because I want to enjoy the hunt. I want to extend my hunt. I want to get the most out of it. So to shoot an animal the first night would be cutting my enjoyment short. Unless it was a 400-pound bear and turned sideways and lifted his shoulder and said, here, go ahead. Then I probably would do it. And I've actually run into bears that have done that. They didn't actually say, okay, here it is, take the shot. But they've done it. So we'll see. I'm really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to it. A little bit disappointed in some of the reaction I've got that I've made several posts now about the fact that I have decided to go over to a crossbow. Just not proficient with the recurve anymore. I love traditional archery. It's basic, pure, instinctive, and very rewarding. But it's tough. It's hard. It takes a lot of time, and you've got to be extremely committed to it. And apparently, I'm not committed enough because my level of proficiency isn't where I want it to be. So therefore, my confidence level isn't what I want it to be. And I think, as hunters, we owe it to the game that we're pursuing to make a quick, clean, humane killing shot. And I don't want to have a tool in my hands that I'm not confident in. So with that in mind, and it's not that I have a physical limitation. I can still draw a compound. I can still draw a recurve, but I'm involved in enough other things these days that I haven't been, and I know I'm not going to put the time into practicing that I need to be proficient and confident with the recurve. So I went to a crossbow, a dart and crossbow. And that is a tool I know can help me be very effective in the woods. But it's kind of disappointing to see some of the comments from people about, well, you're taking the easy way out, crossbows, yada, 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 whatever. We're seeing a lot of fragmentation in the outdoor world, and it honestly breaks my heart. People who like crossbows, people who don't. People who hunt bears with dogs, people who don't like the houndsman. The pro-APR people, antler point restriction people, the anti-antler point restriction people. The catch and release people when fishing, the catch and eat people. And it doesn't do us any good. We have far bigger things as an outdoor community to worry about than the issues I just brought up. For example, and this one is in Oregon. It's not here in our backyard yet. And here, I'm unclear on this, so I apologize for this. But there is an initiative to put on the ballot next November in Oregon to criminalize injuring/killing animals, including killing for food, hunting, fishing. A yes vote would criminalize killing animals, including farming, ranching, hunting, fishing, trapping, pest control, and research. They want to make Oregon a sanctuary state for wildlife. Wow. To make it illegal to hunt or fish. Now, I don't know if it's going to end up on the ballot. I don't know what the vote would be, but the fact that this is even out there is a concern, right? And you might say, well, that's Oregon. What do we care? Most of us here listening to the show are in Michigan. Okay, well, let's go to Ann Arbor, which is kind of in Michigan. I could really make some people mad and say it's almost in Ohio. But then I would have to arm myself as I leave the studio today. Oh, never mind, I already am. In Ann Arbor, the city council has voted unanimously to become the first city in the Midwest to ban the sale of new fur products. Ann Arbor is also the first city in a fur-producing state to ban fur sales. Molly, whatever her name is, Michigan State Director for the Humane Society of the United States, says Ann Arbor has now become the Midwest leader in the fight against the fur industry. Cities should rightfully align their laws with the values of their constituents, and it's clear that the people of Ann Arbor care about animals and want nothing to do with fur. Now that's in Ann Arbor. This is on the heels of the Kalamazoo County Board of Commissioners, voting in effect a resolution that they were in opposition to hunting contests. And then the Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners did the same thing. So we're seeing this here in Michigan as well. And listen, if you live in the northern part of the state, you're listening to this going, Avery, you are absolutely crazy. Because in your world, in your part of the state, it is kind of crazy to hear that kind of talk, isn't it? Because in the northern part of our state and the UP, everybody is an outdoor enthusiast. Everybody hunts, fishes, shoots, traps, or knows people who do, or at least is familiar with the lifestyle and accepting of it. But you get in that southern third of Michigan, the Lower Peninsula, and that's not necessarily the case. And that's where the population is. Where the population is where the votes are. Where the votes are where the anti-hunting groups concentrate their efforts and spend their money. They target people who are ignorant to the facts. And I don't mean that in a negative way. If you're ignorant to the facts about hunting or fishing and shooting or trapping, it's just because you haven't been exposed to it. You don't know. You didn't grow up in it like many of us did. But groups like the Humane Society come in there. They throw some money around. They spew some lies, and people who don't know any better buy into it. Watch the Humane Society of the United States. They want you to believe that they are a group out there trying to save puppies and kittens. They are not. If you want to save puppies and kittens, give money to your local animal shelter. They are saving puppies and kittens. Humane Society of the United States, PETA, groups like that, Fun for Animals, they're blatant anti-hunting, anti-fishing, anti-fur, anti-farming groups. Don't fall to their lies. Coming up here on this week's show after the break, Lori Card of Wild Card Outdoor Adventures. She has made it her mission to get people involved, get women involved in the outdoors. Then Nick Buggia of the Michigan Wildlife Council want to get his reaction to what's going on in the world with the anti-movement. In hour number 2, Randy Budde is still out there knocking down coyotes. He's taken 100 for the year. Amy Trotter of MUCC weighs in on the wolf issue in the UP. And in hour number 3, Lance Valentine of Teachin Fishin. Good show coming up. Glad you're with us. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Alpena on WZTK. That's 105.7 FM. And you can hear us in St. Joe on WSJM 94.9 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Rapid River Knife Works. I have a Rapid River knife in my pocket right now. I use it every day. It is an absolute work of art. It's beautiful, handmade by craftsmen in the UP in Rapid River, but it's functional. I use it every day. Chris Durson, who owns Rapid River, says, listen, my knives may be works of art. He said, I appreciate you saying that, but please use them. Don't put them away. Don't put them on the shelf. Use them. And I do. I use it every day. It's a beautiful knife. You need a knife. Why not get a custom-made or handmade knife right here in Michigan from the folks at Rapid River Knife Works? Check out the website, rapidriverknifeworks.com, or stop by their beautiful showroom in Rapid River and check it out in person, rapidriverknifeworks.com. I was kind of on a rant here in this first segment, talking about defending our lifestyle, the history and tradition of the outdoors. Fortunately, I'm not alone in those pursuits. There are a lot of other people out there who are working very hard to do the same thing. Lori Card-Stroik is one of those people. She is the person behind Wild Card Outdoors, wildcardoutdoors.com. Lori is a very visible force in the outdoors here in Michigan. She is a very vibrant force in the outdoors, and she's always smiling, and she's always promoting the outdoors, especially getting women involved in the outdoors, and I think that's wonderful. And she's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line to talk about that and a recent adventure they were on as well. Lori, welcome back. How are you?
Welcome, Mike. Good morning. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I am doing great, but I know you were watching the live feed before, and I'm kind of fired up about some things, but I suspect you are as well.
Oh, yes, definitely, which is, one of my goals with my Wild Card Outdoor Adventures is educating, encouraging, and promoting the women and children in the outdoors, because like someone said, it starts with education, and we have to show them that all of us, basically, when you think about it, we're all about conservation. So all of the inner fighting, sometimes just we forget that amongst ourselves.
Why do we need to put, I don't want to say special emphasis, but why are efforts like yours needed to concentrate on women? Why aren't women included in this overall bigger push, this bigger picture anyway?
Oh, Mike, I would need so much more time than what I'm allowed to really get into the full detail with that. not all women have been treated, equally or feel as if they're a part of this outdoor industry. I mean, it was a big step and a big decision deciding to pursue what I did with Wild Card Outdoor Adventures. It's a man's world, as we all know. However, it's becoming a woman's world. And when I started this, I'd seen lots of things that I didn't like, and a lot of homes were becoming single-parent homes. Dads are working. They don't have the time to get kids out. Moms might not know how to do it, but their kids are interested. So what better opportunity than to start something where I can show moms how to do this and show kids how to do this and get them involved so that our heritage, our hunting heritage, our fishing heritage doesn't disappear.
Lori, did you grow up in an outdoor household, a hunting and fishing household?
Oh, you betcha. And Mom hunted, all my aunts hunted, all of my cousins hunted. I tried, but I couldn't figure out there was just something about it I didn't feel comfortable with, and it wasn't by taking an animal, it was holding a bow or a gun, and I didn't find out until being an adult that being right-handed, I'm left-eye dominant. So I had to learn how to do that switch over, and now I'm a very avid hunter and angler.
As an example, though, of your family's involvement, I saw a post from you this morning standing in front of, at my alma mater over at Ferris.
Yes. We were there last night as it was one of the, okay, it's going to be official now. I'm officially on the board for Mid-Michigan Safari Club International.
Oh, wonderful. Congrats.
Thank you. So the board went over there last night. So we had basically a networking, a team event of going over and seeing the new addition since the renovation, where we added the Riley Center to that as well. So I'm sure those fans that know of Riley and all of his endeavors with hunting. So now both the Card and Riley is together with their achievements.
Oh, wonderful. Congrats on that. Listen, I've also got to talk to you about, you know where I'm going with this. You are braver than I am, my dear, because you, for the second year in a row, took a group of ladies down south and did some catfish noodling. Tell me more about that.
This year there were 7 of us, including myself, 3 of us from Michigan, 3 from Missouri, and 1 from Arkansas. Only one of the other ladies besides myself had ever noodled before. And it's just when you get these ladies together, it every one of them said it's a bucket list item, but they were afraid. They weren't sure what to expect. They were nervous. And, of course, I'm not going to jump in first and show them. I mean, the guides that we're with, they tell them, and I walked them through it, the whole thing. Because if I did it and then it didn't take as long as what it would for them, then that just doesn't work for them. You've got to let them try it and experience it. And I did go at the end, but I was in the water helping the ladies when they wanted it, and help holding them down or help get them down. Some of us aren't very, we're pretty buoyancy.
Well, let's explain to people who don't know what catfish noodling is.
Well, the guides that we go with in Rend Lake down in Illinois, they basically have it set up for conservation. So they will make the holes out of the 55-gallon drums for the catfish during the seasons. And this way, the catfish also have a safe place to go and lay their eggs. So it's basically we're checking the holes. We have to go in the water and under the water in most cases and find the hole where the catfish is at and see if there's one there. And if there is, we stick our hand in and get it to bite us and then pull it out.
There are so many things wrong with what you just said. I don't even know where to start.
And you can't see in the water. You can't see the bottom of this water.
So, but the way you find out if there's a catfish in there is you got to reach in and find them, right?
The guides will check for us, yes. but you still have to reach in and find it. And I mean, it's a big hole, and you have to really stick your arm in there and move it around and kind of do it slow enough that the fish will attach itself.
What if there's something else in there that you don't want attaching to you?
That is the best thing about going with these guides and it being set up the way it is. There are no air pockets in these holes. So if there's no air pocket, there's not going to be a turtle or a snake to have to worry about.
Well, that makes me feel a little better.
Yeah, I mean, I would never put, a beginner or anyone in danger. So, having these guides, they're phenomenal, and they would not put us in a situation where it was dangerous either.
So what is that? Are you wearing a glove?
We have on like these little cotton knit gloves, only because their teeth are like sandpaper. And if you get bit, you'll have like what looks like a rug burn on your arms where they get you if you don't have your gloves on.
So, all right, so you're in muddy water, waist deep to chest deep. There's sometimes it's over your head. Mine last year was in 6-foot water. Well, how do you get down to that thing then? I mean, are you diving down there and holding on rocks to hold yourself to the bottom, or what?
We're going down and trying to hold on to the paddles that are in the water because they have the paddles to help block the holes, or trying to get to the hole itself with the barrel or whatever the hole is made out of to hold yourself down there. And that is usually more challenging than trying to get the fish out of the hole.
So you get down to the bottom, you reach into this hole, you're feeling around, and what does it look like when you find you got the catfish down there?
It doesn't look like anything because your eyes are usually closed because you couldn't see anyway. But when you feel the fish, you can feel it moving around down there. So you're kind of reaching for it and trying to find its mouth, or if it's flipped and you have the tail. So you're basically blind, feeling in this hole, trying to find the mouth to stick your hand in.
And then when they bite you, what is that like?
Total adrenaline rush. It does not hurt. It is more just like a very firm handshake. And that is the whole addicting part when that happens. I mean, I'm hooked. I absolutely, if I lived closer, I'd be doing it all the time. And if it was legal in Michigan.
Oh, it's not legal in Michigan. Okay. Thanks for bringing that up.
Right, exactly. That. No, you can't do it in Michigan at all. They will not allow it.
So how big are these cats?
This year, our fish ranged from 21 pounds to 30 pounds. Last year, they were 15 pounds up to, I want to say, almost 50 pounds.
Wow. Are they channel cats?
They are all flatheads.
Flatheads, okay.
They don't have the barbs like the channel cats do that would really, if they hit you, they're not going to mess you up like the channel cats will. So again, it's safe. It's amazing. I mean, these creatures, these catfish, it's almost like you create a bond with them when you're struggling to get it. And then when you finally do, it's that whole hurrah moment. And all of the fish we caught this year were all virgin fish, which means they had not been caught before. So
how do you know? Hold on. I got to follow up on that, but I got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. Hang tight, Lori. Okay. Let's follow up that. We're talking with Lori Card-Stroik of Wild Card Outdoors, Wild Card Outdoor Adventures. Her website, wildcardoutdoors.com. That's wildcardoutdoors.com. Lori is a vibrant and viable force in the outdoors here in Michigan. She's doing a great job in encouraging women and families to get involved in the outdoors. We'll talk more about the challenges on that front after the break. So we'll wrap up our conversation with Lori, and then we'll wrap up the hour after that with Nick Buggia of the Michigan Wildlife Council and their Here for Generations campaign. That's all coming up in hour number 1 of this week's Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Traverse City on WTCM. That's 580 AM. And you can hear us over in Tawas on WIOS, 1480 AM and 106.9 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. Linwood Beach can be your year-round Saginaw Bay fishing destination and your Mid-Michigan Tracker and Angler Quest headquarters. They were doing a photo shoot out of Linwood Beach here last week for the new 2022 lineup of Angler Quest boats. I got a little preview. Pretty exciting. I can't say anything yet. Keep an ear out for that. Linwood Beach was the first dealer to carry Angler Quest, and these days they continue to be one of the premier Angler Quest dealers in the state. But besides that, they have some great facilities, beautiful launch, wonderful ship store, perfect location, campground, great marine shop, and wonderful people. What more could you ask for? Check them out online at linwoodbeachmarina.com. That's linwoodbeachmarina.com. While you're online, please head on over to wildcardoutdoors.com. Wildcard Outdoors, the website of Lori Card-Stroik and Wildcard Outdoor Adventures. Lori, before the break, we were talking about this noodling. It's got to be a fight. I mean, you get this 25-pound fish to grab onto your hand, and then you got to get it up out of the water. That can't be easy.
Not always, no. Because if it's fighting you, you've really got to hang on to it because it's just moving and flopping. I mean, those of you who have caught fish on fishing poles, and when you pull it out, and it's not a happy fish by any means. You're pulling it out of where it doesn't want to be pulled out of.
So, what are you doing with those fish? I mean, are you eating them? Are you putting them back? What's the goal?
No, we put them all back. And before we went to break, I was talking about how the fish that we caught, all 7 of them that we caught, were all virgin fish.
Yeah.
And we know that based off of when you catch a catfish, the guide will notch its dorsal fin.
Ah.
And then that kind of helps with the aging and how many times it's been caught and things along that line when they do catch all of these fish. So it's really a cool concept when you look at the whole perspective, how they put it together, and the building of the boxes and the catching of the fish and the marking of the fish. And they'll note if there was a male that's laying on the eggs. Usually if there's 2 cats in a hole in a box, it's a male and a female. So when the female will lay its eggs, the males kick her out of the box and they stay on the eggs and protect them until the eggs have hatched. So it's really a whole, again, education. It goes to the education of the catfish and how their whole system works with that. So we did not keep any. We put them all back after we did our group picture so that they could all return back out to holes. And we didn't have one this year, but last year we did have a male that was on eggs, and we will put that one right back. We won't even pull that one. We'll pull it out of the hole, but then it goes right back in.
Gotcha. And this catfish noodling adventure is just one of several things you do throughout the year, right?
Correct. I try to do something every month if I can, depending on what's in season. I do have the dates booked with the outfitter again for noodling for next year. I made sure to get those on his calendar early. So I will be going a 3rd year in a row.
A couple of minutes left here. I'm curious about the challenges, and I'm only aware of this because talking with you before, I'm thinking, getting women involved in the outdoors, it's critical, it's necessary, we got to get our families involved in the outdoors, but there are some challenges, including such simple things, seemingly simple, as up until recently, a lot of companies didn't even make clothes, hunting gear for women. Exactly.
And women are built so much differently than men, and we are built different amongst ourselves. To try to find something that is warm and comfortable and not bulky, that we can move in, but yet still quiet when we need it to be, is definitely a challenge. There's starting to be some more companies that are catching on to that, but not enough of them. So it really makes it hard when we want to do all these things and find the right lineup of clothing. If you do your research, there are some out there. And I myself, I have several outfits that I do like. However, there are some I prefer over others.
Yeah. What's your next adventure for your group, Laurie?
We're going into September.
Yep.
So we're going to try to get, I'm going to be working with the Michigan Walleye Tour for September for their championship. Then October, I'm getting ready for our third annual Ladies Grouse Hunt.
And in October, we'll see you in Ohio with Bill Piles at Ohio Bow Hunting Outfitters.
Yep, I get done with Bill, and I'm home for a week, and I have to finalize everything for the Ladies Grouse Hunt. So we'll be doing that, and I'm home for a couple weeks from Bill, and I head to Colorado for an elk hunt. And then we'll just sort of see where we are with getting some more things together. I've got a few things on the calendar. I just don't want to.
I understand. You're never one to let grass grow under your feet, Laurie. Keep up the good work. I look forward to following you online. The website, wildcardoutdoors.com, wildcardoutdoors.com. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap up this opening hour with Nick Buggia of the Michigan Wildlife Council, an update on their Here for Generations campaign. Also want to get his thoughts on the overall... Well, some of the things I was talking about earlier, movements in Oregon to make it a wildlife sanctuary state, here in Ann Arbor, banning the fur sales. I just want to know what he thinks about that and more coming up after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Sandusky on WMIC at 660 AM and 95.3 FM. And you can hear us in the Sioux on ESPN 1400 WKNW. Traveling through the Sioux here in just a couple of days from the time we're recording this, on the way to White River, Ontario, Canada for a bear hunt. But you know that by now. You're sick of me talking about it. But I'm not sick of talking about it because I'm excited as can be. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Boning Archery. Michigan-based Boning has been a leader in the archery industry since 1946. That means that this is their 75th anniversary. What a tremendous accomplishment that is. Boning has been a leader and an innovator in the archery world for bow hunters and target archers for 75 years. Check out their website, boning.com, BOHNING.com, boning.com. And congrats to everybody at Boning for 3/4 of a century of archery excellence, innovation, and quality. Boning.com. While you're online, please head on over to hereformioutdoors.org. Hereformioutdoors.org is the website of the Michigan Wildlife Council, a group I've been working with for several years now, and their goal is to protect this outdoor heritage here in Michigan, hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping, which is something I've been talking about extensively here in this first hour. Nick Buggia is with that group. I've talked with Nick before. I always look forward to our conversations. Nick is an avid outdoorsman. Nick, welcome back. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So listen, have you got the dogs out? You getting them ready?
I'm working on it, yeah.
That season's coming up quick, Nick.
Yep, it is. And I'm planning a sharp-tail hunt in Michigan, and it's going to be my first time attempting to do that. So it should be interesting.
I didn't know. I mean, I knew they were legal targets, but I didn't know we had enough of them out there to target them.
Yeah, well we'll find out.
You'll let me know, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, Nick, give me a brief update, if you would, on how the campaign is going. Then I got a couple of follow-up questions for you.
Yeah, no, it's been going great. This summer we've been focusing heavily on fishing because that's kind of what's on people's minds. And I know I've had an opportunity to get out on both Lake Erie and Lake Michigan this year, and that's been great. This fall we're going to transition more into a hunting message. and be a little bit more aggressive than we have in years past. Still focusing in our target areas of Southeast Michigan and Grand Rapids. And then in July, we celebrated Wildlife Conservation Month. Governor Whitmer signed that proclamation. And the end of September 25th, I believe, we have National Hunting and Fishing Day coming up. And then another cool partnership we have is we've been partnering with the Detroit Lions' Frank Ragnow, who's an avid hunter and angler. And he's been helping us do, a few media spots. I know last year he did a walleye recipe. Him and his wife cooked walleye using their own recipe, and we were able to promote that.
Yeah, I saw that. That was very cool. I think that's a great idea, Nick.
Yeah.
Your efforts, it seems to me, are more important than ever, and I'll use a couple of examples. One of them is out of state in Oregon. They're trying to get an issue on the ballot that would make the state of Oregon a wildlife sanctuary state, which would make it illegal to hunt or fish or trap or farm in Oregon. But closer to home here now, the Ann Arbor City Council has banned fur sales. When I look around, Nick, I think if there weren't groups like yours, and if outdoorsmen and women didn't band together to promote our way of life, we could indeed be in trouble.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an uphill battle. I feel like we are moving the needle. One thing, especially when you mention, what's going on in Ann Arbor, the number of hunters even that support trapping has gone up since we've started our campaign. And, unfortunately, trapping is it's low-hanging fruit. It's an easy target. And I understand why some folks, feel the way that they do, but it's an important management tool to make sure that not only those fur-bearing species, but, other wildlife that they may, prey on are living in healthy and sustainable populations. So it's something that, is necessary for all wildlife, really.
Well, you talk about low-hanging fruit. Another great example of that was the dove hunt several years ago here in Michigan. Now it's like we as hunters and anglers and shooters and trappers and all this other stuff can no longer afford to have any sacrificial lambs out there. I think we've got to all stand together. And that's why I appreciate, Nick, what you guys are doing at the Michigan Wildlife Council.
Well, we appreciate your support and being able to join you on your show every now and then.
All right, Nick, have a good season. We'll talk again.
All right. See ya.
All right, Nick Buggia of the Michigan Wildlife Council. The website here, the campaign, I forgot to mention this, the campaign is called Here for Generations. And isn't that what the goal is? To make sure that this way of life that we love so much is indeed here for generations. The website here for mioutdoors.org. We will take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, Randy Budde of Savage Dog Outdoors, he's still out there hunting coyotes, knocking down predators. He's at 100 or more for the year now. We'll talk with him. And then Amy Trotter of MUCC as well, coming up in hour number 2 of Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polarcraft Boats, The Forward Corporation, Primal Tree Stands, Shadow Hunter Blinds, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the hour 2, of this week's Outdoor Magazine show. I'm getting ahead of myself. Well, I got to be honest. I'm thinking about bear hunting. All right, I said it, okay? It came out. I'm thinking about bear hunting. But that's okay. That's okay. This is hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show, heard on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 24 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. And I push this whole radio thing a lot lately because the things are becoming blurry. The line between broadcasting and podcasting. It's actually not even non-existent in a lot of people's minds. I love podcasting, and I produce a lot of podcasts. But I will admit I'm actually quite proud of this syndicated radio show because there aren't many statewide syndicated outdoor radio shows in the country, and Outdoor Magazine is one of them. And I think the best way to listen to Outdoor Magazine radio, if you can, is on your local radio station. For one thing, the radio stations get the content of the show before I upload the podcast version. But if your local affiliate doesn't carry all 3 hours, or if you live in some part of our state not covered by the broadcast signal, it's nice to know that the podcast version of Outdoor Magazine radio is out there. Where do you hear it? It's on my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I put it on the Facebook page. It's on Amazon Music, Audible, Twitter, LinkedIn, iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Player FM, Deezer, Odyssey, and even YouTube. Any place, almost literally any place that you can hear a podcast, you can hear the podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine radio show. I also, though, do several podcasts that don't appear on the radio show. These are just podcasts that are for some companies, including Jay's Sporting Goods, Offshore Tackle, Angler Quest Boats, Killer Food Plots, Polar Craft Boats, and Shadow Hunter Blinds. When we get done with the show today, we're going to record a Polar Craft podcast. In fact, I'll be talking with Captain Bobby Sullivan. I had Bobby on the radio show a couple of weeks ago. He's the charter captain whose client caught that new state record king salmon. Turns out he also runs Polar Craft for his river trips and his duck hunting trips over on Saginaw Bay. So we'll talk about that. So keep an eye and an ear out for that as well, if you would. It is an interesting time of year, isn't it? It's a great time of year. As we make this transition from late summer into early fall, a lot of great fishing going on. People are starting to get geared up for hunting season. I find it interesting, though. I used to think of predator hunting, primarily coyote hunting, as just a wintertime sport. But I'll tell you what, the hardcore predator hunters out there, and Randy Budde of Savage Dog Outdoors is one of them. These guys are out there year-round. They're knocking down predators. They're knocking down coyotes. They're trying to keep our predator population under control. And as of a couple of weeks ago, Randy was at 100 coyotes for the year. There aren't a lot of people who can say they've done that. And Randy is joining us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Randy, welcome back. How have you been?
Good. How about you, Mike?
Well, good. But in fact, you were out hunting last night, weren't you?
Yes, I was. I just made one stand last night. My wife went with me. We called in one and killed it.
So that put you at 101?
No, actually, I got a couple here the other night, too. It puts me at 103 right now. But it's going to be slowing up because, like you, I'm going to be doing some bear hunting. I'll be camping in the UP for the month of September, so I will do a little bit of coyote hunting up there, but not very much. It's
going to be strange for you to hunt in the daylight, Randy.
Yeah, well, it's a nice change, you know.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, last night, we're doing some time shifting, so this show actually isn't going to air for a couple of weeks from the time we're recording it, a week and a half. But last night, it was kind of a hot, kind of a muggy night down here where I live. How was it up there where you are?
Oh, not too bad. It was we got out there at about, I'd say about 10:30, and it was probably in the mid-60s.
Okay. Well, you're hunting them year-round. Does a hot, muggy midsummer night, is that even worth going out there? Are they moving around then, or don't they care?
You know, I wish I could figure out when they're out moving around. Sometimes you go out there and you can't hear a peep out of them. You can't see none. They just don't, just like they don't exist. And then other nights they come. It seems like that high barometric pressure is not good and low is not good. But, I have one out there when the pressure's been high and done really good. So I wish I could figure out when they're going to move and when they ain't. I can go in streaks weeks at a time, never see or hear one. But then all of a sudden, every time you go out, you'll see them. So I don't have them figured out.
And see, that seems crazy to me. A guy of your stature, a guy who takes as many as you do, and you still go through slow periods. That just points out how really difficult and challenging coyote hunting can be.
Yeah, it's a tough sport. I mean, you got to be a pretty bullheaded to get them, because you're going to go in streaks where you'd swear there ain't a coyote out there.
And I bet it's especially tough for folks just starting out, because they don't have the confidence of knowing, hey, this is going to turn around eventually. I know I'm doing the right thing. That first one's got to be the hardest.
It is. When you're starting out, you're thinking, am I screwing up when I'm calling? What's the deal? Why can't I call one in? And that's just the way it is, Most of the people starting out are probably doing it right. The sound thing is not as big a deal as people think. If they're willing to come, they'll come to about anything. And if they're not willing to come, they don't want to come to about anything. Certain times of the year, I try to follow what I think they'll be feeding on that time of year. Like spring and summer, I kind of like fawn distress, because I figure they're probably feeding on a lot of deer that fawns if they can catch them. And if they hear a fawn squealing, and then a lot of times I'll throw in a little bit of coyote sounds like growling or yipping or stuff like that to make them think there's a coyote there got that fawn, and they think, well, there's enough there for both of us, so they'll come running in. But rabbit distress is always good too. It's just, I don't know, just for the times of the year I try to follow what I think they'll be feeding on, but who knows? Bird sound might worked in too.
Well, and what you just said, answers a question from a lot of people. They say, well, listen, most coyote hunters aren't eating these animals, so why are they hunting them? But you just described why. I mean, if they're taking fawns, they're a predator. They do have a place in the food chain, but there's too many out there. I mean, they've got to be, not that you guys are keeping them under control, but you sure are trying.
That's it. I don't think we'll ever keep them under control, but we can help. There ain't, here in the Lower Peninsula, they don't have no man as their only predator. Like in the UP, they got wolves that will kill them, but down here there's nothing that kills coyotes except us. So they're always going to be around. We're not gonna wipe them out no matter how hard we try.
And as the popularity of predator hunting, nighttime predator hunting, coyote hunting continues to grow, are these coyotes getting wiser? You say, they know they're being hunted, but are they getting smarter, if I can use that term?
Oh, definitely. They're so easy to educate that it's not funny. So, yeah, nighttime hunting has gotten very popular in Michigan, and it's very easy to educate them. One thing a beginner, if the biggest mistake beginners make is they overhunt their area. I try not to hunt an area more than twice a month, and I usually won't even hunt it once a month. I mean, after I call that field, I'll stay away from there for a month or two before I come back to that exact spot. I might move a half or quarter mile from there and try it in a different spot, but I try not to keep going back to the same spot. And a beginner, he don't have a lot of property to hunt, so he'll keep going back to that spot, and he's just educating them coyotes. And another thing a beginner will do, he'll think he'll see this guy's killing coyotes in this one area, and so he thinks, well, there's a lot of coyotes there, so I'll just go kind of move in close to where he's hunting and try it. And that's a big mistake too, because you're just educating the coyotes, and it's not like deer where there's coyotes, a lot of coyotes in one area. You know, you might have 2 or 3 coyotes in this, say, 1 or 2 mile area.
Hang tight, Randy. Sorry to cut you off, but I got to. We got to take a break here. We're talking with Randy Budde of Savage Dog Outdoors. This guy knows what he's talking about. More than 100 coyotes so far, and he's still working on more. We'll take a break and continue our conversation with Randy right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show on great AM and FM stations across the great state of Michigan, including WBCK in Battle Creek, that's 95.3 FM, and in Caro, 2 stations, WKYO 1360 AM and WIDL 92.1 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by MUCC's On the Ground program. OTG is a program to improve habitat for fish and wildlife across the state. For details, check out the Michigan United Conservation Club's website. That's MUCC.org, MUCC.org. Amy Trotter of MUCC will be along with us in the next segment to talk about wolves in Michigan and more. And by the way, if you want to save 25% on your MUCC membership, you can go to the website, MUCC.org, and use the promo code Mike, all caps, MIKE, and save 25%. How cool is that? We're talking right now with Randy Budde from Savage Dog Outdoors. You can follow those guys on Facebook. Randy is an absolute master. When you talk about, top tier predator hunters, coyote hunters in the state, nighttime hunters especially, Randy's name is always brought up. I mean, he's just over 100 coyotes now. Randy, it seems to me like you've just got this so figured out and so dialed in. And when I hear you say things like there are nights you go out there and you just can't figure, you don't know. It blows my mind. It's just, I guess it shows what a challenge this really can be.
Yeah, it's not just nights. I can go weeks.
So listen, what's the appeal then? Because I would think that after 2, 3, 4, nights of nothing, the average person would start to get frustrated and say, "What am I doing out here?"
It's discouraging, especially if you're just starting. You'd think that I just am no good at this. I'm just going to quit. But I know that I can get them, so that just keeps me going. But that I'm kind of bullheaded, I guess.
Well, that helps in a lot of things, doesn't it?
It does.
Hey, you were talking about...
I don't know if it helps. It makes you more successful.
Well, exactly, yes. You were talking about calls in the first segment. You're not using mouth calls anymore, right? These days it's all electronic calls?
Yeah, I carry a mouth call with me, but I never use it. I use Psychotech Calls. They're fantastic. They got great sounds on there, and it's a lot easier just to push the button and turn that sound on. And then I can put the caller out in the field there any place I want it. Like last night, it was really bright out there, and so I got that caller like 40, 50 yards from me, so that when they're staring at that sound, they're not looking right at me, because they can when it's light like last night, they can see you from quite a ways away. So that's nice. You can put it where you want to, and so the sound's coming from where you want it. And it's just a lot easier than standing there blowing on that call.
Yeah. What's the sequence like? Like, how long will you call and then take a break? And, tell me more about that.
That's one place I'm kind of different than a lot of people. A lot of people like to throw a lot of pauses in there. I'm not much onto that. I figure I figure he's coming to that call, so if I'm not calling, he's probably not coming. There is nights that they'll come in on a pause like that, but as the most part, I'm running that call constantly. A lot of times I'll start out with a howl, and then I'll go into some type of distress, whether it be fawn distress or rabbit distress, or because I'm trying to get that coyote to think that there's another coyote over there and he just caught something. So say I'll go into a rabbit distress, and then I'll play that rabbit distress 8-10 minutes continuously, and then I stop it, and I might take a little pause in, but a lot of times I'll go right into some type of pup distress call, and that's usually where I'll finish it. I'll go another 8-10 minutes on pup distress, and then if there's nothing, I might shut the call off, wait a couple minutes, see if anything shows up, and a lot of times I'll do a group shout out howl to see if there is any of them around there, and if it's quiet, I get out of there and go to a different place.
If they're around, will you know it? Will they respond vocally to your calls?
Some nights they're very vocal, and other nights they're tight-lipped, won't say a word. So just because they don't respond to your first howl, don't think there ain't none in the area. Just, a lot of times they'll come sneaking in. And then there is other times you'll howl and they'll howl right back. And that gets your hopes up when one of them howls and he sounds fairly close, but don't count on him coming. But there's a good chance he will, but there's also a chance that he won't.
Yeah, that's got to be fun when you get one that responds to you, because that's one of the things I love about turkey hunting. That you can call, they'll respond, you can go back and forth. If you could get a coyote to do that would be cool.
It is. That's one thing that keeps us going. It's exciting when they come in and you actually get one. It's exciting, and it can happen quick. I mean, a lot of I've seen them where they'll come running right up to the call, turn around and run right away from there. And when they do that, you usually don't get them. It's a lot better to have them just coming in slow.
So what is your setup? You're using the real high-end thermal stuff these days, right?
Yes, I use an AR-15, and I have a couple different calibers I use. One of them's a 224 Valkyrie, and I reload all my shells. I shoot 55 grain Sierra bullets in that Valkyrie. And then recently I just put a barrel on another AR, and that's kind of a Wildcat cartridge. It's basically a 6mm SPC, and I'm shooting 70 grain bullets in that. Right now I'm using nozzler ballistic tips. And then I have pulsar thermal scopes. One of them's a Trail 2, and the other one's a Thermion, and I have good luck with them.
That's pretty high end.
Also, I scan with a pulsar Axion thermal scanner.
I gotta believe at this point you've got a few dollars invested in that. Can somebody still, if they want to get started, can they still go out with just a high intensity light and give it a try, or is that just so old school anymore that the coyotes are so onto you that there's no sense in even trying it?
I don't know. It's been a long time since I used any of that stuff. I can picture it working. I think that the very least, to be very successful, you're going to need a thermal scanner to scan with. That idea of shining that light around the field there, that don't appeal to me. It might work, but I think you're going to spook more than you're going to see.
Yeah.
But if you got a thermal scanner and you see it, and then you go to the red light and be careful getting the light on him, I think that would work fine. But you need something out there to see with it. If you don't have the equipment, you're probably better off to go like early morning or in the evening just before dark, because like right now, probably just before dark and early mornings would probably be better than at night, because it's so bright out there now that it's going to be tough now until after the full moon. So,
I've never used one of those thermal units at all, but it's got to be pretty cool just scanning the nighttime countryside. Just the things that you see out there must be a lot of fun. Just watching the critters.
Oh yeah, that thermal is amazing technology. We can see mice out there 50, 100 yards away running in the field where there's short stuff in the field. You can see, you pick up them mice just like nothing. And you see every animal that's out there basically, unless he's hidden behind trees or tall grass or something. But any animal out there just sticks right out. It's a little hard to identify the animals when you don't know, not used to looking at through thermal, but it's just something else.
There was some concern early on, about opening up nighttime predator hunting to center fire rifles, but that proved to be no problem at all. I mean, I haven't heard of any accidents, any houses getting shot, nothing at all. I mean, that was no big deal at all, was it?
No, that hasn't proved to be a big deal. The thing that concerns me out there the most is you're out there in that, say in a field, and you're making coyote sounds. I worry about people hearing them out there and taking a shot out across the field, not knowing what they're aiming at, shooting at.
Yeah.
Not people with thermal, but just people that's taken out there, because there has been some incidents where I've been out in the field calling, and other people they've came out there and took a shot out across the field, and that's a little scary.
Yes, indeed. Wow. So tell me about your bear hunt coming up. Are you hunting with dogs or over bait, or what are you going to do?
No, hunting over bait. I'm taking some of the Overdrive Outdoors guys. There's 3 of them going to be hunting with me. And then we got the last season. And then for the first season, my 9-year-old grandson, he's got the first season. So he'll be down here for the youth hunt on, I think it's 11th and 12th. And then on the 13th, his dad's going to be bringing him up there to a bear hunt. So
he's going to have a pretty good month of September then, isn't he?
Yeah, he's probably going to be disappointed about missing that week of school, but he'll get over that.
I bet he will. Yeah. Hey, Randy, always a pleasure. I think it's so impressive what you're up to, and I enjoy following you online. I would encourage others to do the same at Savage Dog Outdoors. And good luck bear hunting to you as well.
You too, Mike. Nice talking to you.
Hey, same here. Always a pleasure. Randy Budde of Savage Dog Outdoors. You can follow him and the crew at Savage Dog Outdoors. We'll take a break here on the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, Amy Trotter of MUCC will be joining me. I want to talk with her about wolves and more. She was at the Wolf Advisory Committee meeting in Ishpeming a couple of weeks ago, where that retired DNR biologist dropped a bombshell talking about that he had reported a certain number of wolves and his superiors didn't follow up on it. At least that's one version of the story. So I want to get her impression of that and more after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. And in hour number 3, Lance Valentine of Teachin Fishin, all coming up in this week's show. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Port Huron, WPHM 1380 AM. And you can hear us in Newberry, WNBY 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Wilds Plumbing and Heating. Plumbing, heating, air conditioning, sump pumps, ductwork cleaning, fireplace installation, you name it. Maintenance of your mechanicals of your house, everything to keep you warm or cool, depending on the season, comfortable and dry. The folks from Wilds can take care of it. Their motto is whatever it takes, and I have seen that over many, many years now. They have taken care of me and my family in 2 different houses. I trust them. I welcome them into my home, and I can encourage you to do the same with no hesitation. Check them out online at wildsplumbingandheating.com. That's wildsplumbingandheating.com. While you are online, please head on over to my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Then make a stop at MUCC.org. MUCC.org, obviously, is the website of the Michigan United Conservation Clubs, a group that I am a member of, a group that I support. Amy Trotter is the executive director of MUCC, and she joins us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Amy, welcome back. How are you?
Good. Thanks, Mike.
Always a pleasure. You've been very, very busy, as always.
Yes. This summer we had some unexpected busyness, but also a little bit of fun mixed in.
Well, and I want to talk to you about all of these things, but the first topic at hand, at least in my mind, you are a member of the Michigan Wolf Advisory Council or Committee, whatever it is. There was kind of a bombshell dropped at that last meeting by a retired biologist who made some claims. Your thoughts on this whole situation and wolves in Michigan in general, Amy?
Yeah, so as a member of the Wolf Management Advisory Council, we the first meeting was really just to kind of nail down some logistics of the meeting. And then we took public comment, and because this was the first wolf meeting in a really long time, there was a lot of public comment, mainly from people from the Upper Peninsula and a lot from hunters and trappers up there. And, the one comment in particular that I don't know that we were expecting to hear from or receive was from Kevin Swanson, the former large carnivore specialist. And, he explained very clearly, kind of some, as he saw it, some, maybe a rift or maybe some disagreements among the DNR team about, and really those disagreements are between sort of the research staff and the field staff that kind of were brought to light. And this brought up a lot more questions than maybe we had answers for at that moment, because we were just sort of accepting public comment, so we didn't get a chance to discuss it in the public as we have sort of since internally, and you'll see a lot more at our next meeting. So, what some of the questions, of course, that we have asked the department since is, we need to have, as advisory council members, a full understanding of how do you do this minimum wolf population count? How are these estimates generated? What are the survey techniques? What kind of internal and external validation processes there are that this study goes through? So we need to better understand, at least from the department's perspective, their process so that we can kind of take Kevin's comments into the context of what the overall process is and see what we can do to recommend improvements, certainly, but also, we have to ensure that we have, trusted data that we're making decisions on. So, we definitely have to dig into this and kind of ask a lot of questions and see where we can make improvements into that data, because, there's certainly people out there that, are inclined to not trust the government, not to trust the Department of Natural Resources, but, we pay through our license dollars them to manage these species, and so we have to figure out a way forward, I think. So that's the way I can leave it.
And I think you've done that very well. So is the concern that the wolf numbers may be off, or is the concern that the process in the department, the bigger picture, is out of whack?
Well, I think if you listen very closely to Kevin's comments, he was talking in maybe the tens of wolves in terms of where adjustments had been made that he, as a field staff or others, were estimating, and then the research staff that kind of collects all of this data and puts out the survey information, they were making adjustments that, it sounded like he disagreed with. So, but it wasn't an order of magnitude. So I think it's important to kind of bring that into the context. This was, tens of wolves. So really within sort of the plus or minus error bars of any kind of wildlife effort. So I think that's important to move forward in kind of keeping that in mind. The other thing I think is, is the method that we're using still the best available method? And I think that's a valid question that we need to challenge to the department and to the research staff to either get a third party to take a look at that method and say, yes, this is still the best way of counting, or no, that we've had a lot of advancements, Hang
tight, Amy. Sorry to cut you off, but I have to. We got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. I think you can stick around, so we'll talk with her more about that. More with Amy Trotter of MUCC, MUCC.org, right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold, WCBY, AM and FM, 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. And you can hear us in Flint on Sports Extra 1330 WTRX. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by my friends from Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoors men and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. The way the Ask Avery segment works is, this is your chance to ask me a question, or you can pose a question to me that you want me to pass along to somebody else, like somebody in the DNR or somebody in MUCC, which is exactly where I'm taking this week's Ask Avery segment as I continue my conversation with MUCC Executive Director Amy Trotter. Amy, I'm so sorry to cut you off there before the break, but when the clock says I got to go, I got to go. But tell me, what is your perception of wolf management here now in Michigan? There's no way we're going to have a hunt this winter at all, is there?
Well, that is not in the hands of the Advisory Council. That is in the hands of the Natural Resources Commission. And the Natural Resources Commission actually several months ago passed a resolution saying that they wanted to conclude the planning process prior to that discussion, but they wanted the planning process to be completed much more quickly than the department's initial plan. So, I think they've pretty much clearly signaled that, they are not trying to rush ahead with a hunt yet this fall, that they believe that process is important, but it is on their radar and it's certainly on their agenda for next year once they have that plan in hand. So that, I don't want to speak on their behalf, but that's kind of what I heard them say when they passed that resolution. So we would love to see something, but again, this is the most litigated species probably on the planet, and so process matters, and we are following the process, but it is in the hands of the Natural Resources Commission, and the Wolf Advisory Council, I believe, will dive into how a hunt is structured and a little bit of those sort of characteristics and timing and process as well. But we are advisory in nature, and ultimately the NRC has to approve anything.
Gotcha. I want to get your reaction to a couple of things, though. There's a move in Oregon to make that state a wildlife sanctuary, to put it on the ballot for 2022, to make it illegal to hunt and fish and trap and farm. And you might say, well, that's Oregon. Okay, but what about here in Michigan, where very recently the Ann Arbor City Council voted to ban the sale of fur in the city? As I look around, we've got some crazy things going on in the world. How do you see our future as this outdoor heritage? Are we still okay, or do we need to start looking around, Amy?
Well, Michigan is fortunate, and I'm literally in a meeting right now because we have a very strong Michigan Legislative Sportsmen's Caucus We have groups like MUCC and all of the other fur, fin, and feather groups who work together to make sure our legislators are educated about the value of hunting and fishing to a state like Michigan and the absolute critical importance of continuing our outdoor heritage. So we are trying to be proactive in that effort. We, make sure that these legislators get a shotgun in their hands, that they get to go out salmon fishing in the Lake Michigan, and that they get to go run bears with dogs in the woods during training seasons. So we are trying to get them engaged in the outdoors so that if there is ever a question of policy coming down the lines, they know us, they know who to talk to, they know who to ask questions of, and maybe they've even had some firsthand experience so they can actually educate their own constituents. So we are trying very hard proactively on that end, but there are still things that slip by us, and Ann Arbor is one of those things. Kalamazoo County voted to ban, hunting contests as well. And so, it takes us all. It takes a grassroots effort. So you have to be involved in your local community and stay attuned to what your city council or your county commission is talking about, because we can't be everywhere all the time as a statewide organization.
And I know you need to get back to that meeting, but real quick, I understand that you were you were with that group doing some noodling with Lori Card last week. That seems crazy to me, Amy. What was it like?
Oh my gosh, Catfish Noodling has been on my outdoor bucket list, so I jumped at a chance to go with all-women group down to Illinois, and it was terrifying. I was probably nauseous the night before because I was so worried if I was going to be able to hold my breath and close my eyes tight enough and stick my hand in a hole and hope a fish bites it. It was a rush, and when I finally did it, I lost 3 fish before I finally got one. So it's not easy, as you might have thought, but especially maybe for a short person who I needed to have a weight belt on to hold me down and get down there, and finally was successful, and it was quite a rush.
Oh, it sounds like it. Amy, listen, keep up the good work. I'll let you get back to the meeting, and as always, I will turn to you when I'm looking for insight and information out of Lansing. Amy Trotter, Executive Director of MUCC, MUCC.org. By the way, use the promo code Mike, all caps, M-I-K-E, and save 25% on your MUCC membership. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, Lance Valentine of Teachin Fishin in Hour 3.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by J Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polarcraft Boats, The Forward Corporation, Primal Tree Stands, Shadow Hunter Blinds, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery. Thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to hour number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. More than 24 AM and FM stations across the great state of Michigan. I'm here every week for 3 hours talking about the great outdoors, the history and tradition of hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping and all things biologically sound, all things biologically necessary, legal, moral, ethical, ordained by God, and just plain fun. For many of us, this is a way of life. Well, it's more than a hobby, right? When people say, okay, Avery, describe yourself, I'll give them some certain terms or whatever, but outdoorsman or hunter or angler is almost always in there because that's how I, in some ways, relate to the world. I love the outdoors. I don't pretend, and I never have, to be an expert at hunting or fishing. Far from it. Far from it. Many of you who listen to this show are far more proficient and knowledgeable in hunting and fishing than I am. But nobody enjoys it more. I absolutely love to be out in the woods or out in the water, and not necessarily do I need to shoot something or catch fish to enjoy that experience. And it's a good thing because some days I'm not very good at it. One of the things I've enjoyed most about this show over so many years is the fact that I get a chance to talk with so many absolute experts, people who are at the very, very top of their field. And Lance Valentine is one of them. I consider Lance to be a great friend. He's just a good guy. I've known him forever. And every time I talk with him, I continue to be amazed at the knowledge he has and his way of sharing that information. And I've been looking forward to this conversation with Lance now for a couple of days, ever since I booked him. And guess what? He's here now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Lance, welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Michael. Thank you for that introduction. That's nice.
Well, it's always fun to talk with you, Lance, because you have the ability to dissect a day on the water or an experience and look at it in ways that once you explain it to me, I go, well, of course, that makes perfect sense. But until I hear your breakdown and your perception, I just don't get it. Is this ability you have, Lance, is this just a God-given talent you've had forever, or is this something you've had to really work on and hone and develop?
It takes hours, actually thousands and thousands and thousands of hours and thousands of miles on the water. It takes thousands of hours with your nose in books and research and following other people and reading and watching and keeping good records and going back to those records. And it's definitely a skill you can learn. I just don't think that most people want to take the time, to learn it. So, obviously there's some innate thing that, made me fall in love with the process of fishing. Like you said, for me, it's not just the fishing or the catching. For me, it's more the process of trying to figure out all of it, right? And then if I fail, try to figure out why I failed. If I succeed, try to figure out why I succeeded, and not just why I succeeded, but also every day, what did I miss? What if I caught 20? What did I miss? And why did I not catch 30? Always trying to figure out what's going on, and talking to other people, and just always. I tell people I have three things in my head: my wife's birthday, my anniversary, and fishing crap. And that's basically it.
Well, you can get through life with those three things, Lance.
Exactly. My life is pretty uncluttered, and fishing crap is high at the list.
But you're right, though, about taking the time, because as much as I love to fish, and I do, I love being out there, but I'm not as intense as you are. And I really, when push comes to shove, I really don't want to put the effort into it that it takes to get to the level that you're at.
Yeah, it's not so much, I don't know if it's just time. It's like anything else, right? Everybody says they can't have this, they can't do this, they can't have that. And then if you have somebody write down in a week, what do you do with your time every 5 minutes? You start to realize that everybody has an extra hour every day to spend on whatever it is their passion is, right? Fishing, hunting, making lures, whatever the case may be, right? Becoming a musician. Everybody has that time. We just don't always prioritize that time. And I don't like to fail. I don't do a lot of things. When I do something, I have one or two things that I do. And when I do those things, I do them to the nth degree. I'm not... I know a lot of guys, and God bless them, but you know them too, right? They deer hunt with a bow, and they deer hunt with a gun, and they goose hunt, and they duck hunt, and they rabbit hunt, and they do this, and they trap, and they walleye fish, and they crappie fish, and they pike fish, and they bass fish, and there's no way you can be good at all of those. You just can't. So
Yeah.
I have the personality that I pick one or two things, and I want to be as good as I can be at those one or two things. I don't do anything else.
And it's a strategy that's worked very well for you, my friend.
Well, you got to feed the family.
Well, and hasn't that been a challenge? Listen, I don't want to get too far off topic here, but isn't it nice to be able to get charters and running trips and be kind of getting back to normal now?
Yeah, a little kick in the groin. 2020 was kind of, we lost 87 trips, March and April in Detroit, and you can't recover those, right? Nobody canceled, but out of those 87, 80 of those would have rebooked again. So it's money down the drain. But no, I think if everybody would just take a minute. Here's what I tell my guys: take a minute after you're done fishing, put the boat on the trailer, and stop. Pull out your notepad and write down what's in your mind right now. What did we do right? What did we do wrong? We talked to a few other anglers. What did they do different? Just write that down. Just take 10 minutes at the end of the day to just kind of look at your day and go, what was good? What was bad? What did I learn? What do I need to learn? Where are some weaknesses? You'll be surprised. Just that 10 minutes after every fishing trip, by the end of the year, if you go back and look at those notes, I think you'll really be surprised how much you actually do know. You just don't always turn your fishing brain on all the time when you're fishing.
But your record-keeping system goes far beyond just jotting a few notes in a notebook at the end of the day, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty intense. We're getting to the point now where a lot of things we're starting to see happen over and over and over and over again. You can kind of start to make smaller notes, right? This year, really a couple of things stood out this year. CD5 walleye divers, right? So the fish were on small baits this year all summer. So grabbing my box of CD5 walleye divers out of the garage, taking up to Saginaw Bay and running them on lead core. That's something we've never done, is small baits on lead core. I've always been a spoon guy on lead core. Well, small crankbaits were catching a lot of fish. So that's something that kind of sticks out from this year. And that was all a function of watching fish regurgitate, 1.5, 2-inch baby perch every time we were catching. Like, okay, well, a number 7 flicker shad is 7 centimeters, right? So that's, almost 3 inches long. Well, a CD5 walleye diver is 5 centimeters, which is exactly 2 inches long. And these baits that these fish are spitting out are 2 inches long. So that extra 7/8 of an inch between a 5 and a 7 was making all the difference between how many fish we were catching every day. So it's those little things that you just kind of pay attention to as you become a better angler, and as you start paying attention, one of those details makes a difference one day. Then you really start to think about all those little differences every time you're fishing. It's a process, right? You do it once, right? It was 10,000 hours for something to become a habit, and it's looking at those little details and making those little changes and paying. I would tell you, the biggest thing for me, Mike, I watch guys on my chart, and most guys don't pay enough attention.
Oh, absolutely.
People on the
absolutely.
boat. And I'll make a turn and go, we'll catch 5 fish on the outside turn. I'll go, okay, what was common with all, those 5 fish? They bit purple? No, they all bit on the outside turn. And these are guys who fish. These aren't just people. Most of my charter guys are guys who fish and want to come and get better. And they're not even paying attention to something as simple as the outside board on the outside of a turn is going faster, so we need to increase our speed. So I think a lot of people, it's okay to go fishing and disconnect from everything. That's one of the beauties of fishing. But you have to turn your fishing brain on if you want to be successful. I told you, how many weeks ago did I tell you, right? Fishing isn't hard. It's just complicated. And
I wrote it down.
Where that stuff comes in.
I was so impressed with that statement, I added it to the notes in my phone. And I've quoted you several times since then. Lance, we got to take a break. We got to take a break. We're talking with Lance Valentine. And listen, Lance, I'm going to say of Teachin Fishin. I didn't say the other thing. Teachinfishin.com, Lance Valentine. I got a lot more questions I have for my friend Lance. And he always has the answers. I have yet to. I've fished the river, the Detroit River, with Lance a couple of times, but I have yet to jump on his angler quest and troll Saginaw Bay. It's something I think I would learn a lot from. So we'll take a break here on the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, continue our conversation with Lance Valentine of Teachin Fishin. Chef Dave Miner cannot make it again this week, so we've got some time to spend with Lance right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Manistee on WMLQ 97.7 FM. And you can hear us in Holland on WHTC. Now, I say Holland, Michigan, right? Although you can hear us in the country of Holland as a podcast, but the broadcast version of the show you can hear in Holland on WHTC AM and FM. That's 1450 AM, 99.7 FM. And let's go to Lansing as well. You can hear us on WILS in Lansing. That's 1320 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Reader Landscaping. They can take care of your lawn and property because it's your nature and our nurture. Let Reader create an outdoor getaway in your backyard, as they have for me, and now for my neighbors as well. Very knowledgeable people, very hardworking people for maintenance, lawn and property maintenance. And that includes mowing and spraying and such, landscaping, hardscapes like patios and such, outdoor fireplaces. I tell you, the folks from Reader can really take care of it. Check them out online at readerlandscaping.com. That's readerlandscaping.com. While you are online, please head on over to teachinfishin.com. Teachin Fishin, the brainchild of Lance Valentine. You know Lance. He's been on this show many, many times. He does a lot of online stuff on his own. He's a charter captain. He's a fishing guide. He's an outdoor educator. Lance, in your ability to share your knowledge, I love the fact that you have the ability to take a fairly complicated topic like transducers, the cone angle on a sonar, and make it easy to understand. What's the most challenging topic for you to address and get across to people?
Wow, that's a good one. I think you mentioned it. One of them is fish arches. That's a huge part of the something that people just don't get. And I would tell you the hardest thing for me to get people to understand is to not put a lure in the water unless you know you're fishing where fish are. That seems to really escape people, and that we've been trying for 25 years to convince people. In an analogy we use, you brought up a little conversation about food, and the analogy I use is you wouldn't go in the middle of your food plot, rack a shell in your gun, put a blindfold on, spin around in a circle, and shoot and expect to shoot a deer, no matter how good your food plot was. There are places that those deer live. There's places that they bed. There's places they feed. There's places that they stay. And that's the same way fish are. You can't just go out to the middle of the lake and drop lines in the water and start driving around and go, my gosh, I hope I catch something. So getting people to actually work through the process before they go to the lake, understand what kind of bait is in the lake, understand where the walleye should be based on where that bait is going to be, based on current wind, current weather, current water conditions, time of year, water temperature, all that stuff, and at least give yourself a fighting chance, and then use your sonar to make sure you're fishing where there should be fish or are fish before you even put a lure in the water. We say all the time in our seminars, about 90% of the anglers spend about 90% of their time fishing where they have no chance of ever getting a bite. So if we could get them to narrow that window down, even though in a 5-hour day you may only fish 3 hours, if you're fishing 3 hours where the fish are, you're going to catch a lot more than fishing 5 hours where there's nothing. And too many guys spend too much time fishing where they have no chance of ever getting a bite.
90% of anglers spend 90% of their time fishing where there's no fish.
Correct. I believe that 100%. I would tell you the numbers are probably even higher.
Have you been following me around, Lance?
No, I've done, you talk about learning this. I've done all this wrong. That's what I try to explain to people when people come to me, and, some people don't like, my style, and some people, I'm like, look, I'm not telling you I know. I'm telling you I've done it wrong. I'm trying to save you 15 years of aggravation. I was that guy. I got the super secret color and I got some new planer boards. Let's go out to Saginaw Bay and drive around. We should catch them. Well, it doesn't work that way, and I did all that. I suffered through all of that for years and years, and finally decided I wanted to become a really good walleye angler, and I learned a little bit, and I started fishing tournaments, and probably knew 1/100th of the other guys that were fishing, but I learned, I watched. I paid attention. I talked. I tell guys, if I see somebody at the boat ramp that caught more fish than me, I'll lay down in front of their truck before they tell me what they did. You're not leaving. So many guys have a bad fishing day, and the first thing they want to do is leave the ramp because they're embarrassed. That's the worst thing to do. Start talking to guys. How deep of water were you fishing? How fast were you going? What was your best lure? You don't need waypoints. Forget all that stuff. Just basic stuff. What part of the lake were you fishing? How fast were you going? How deep of water were you fishing? How deep were your lures? Basic stuff that guys will give up without having to tell you exactly where they're fishing. That's the key. It's not that exact waypoint. It's understanding all those little pieces that help you put together the puzzle. And if guys would understand that, the more of that when you leave the dock, the better you're going to be, the more effective you're going to be. You're a lot better off to be a really bad fisherman with the wrong lure in the right place than you are to be a really good fisherman with the perfect lure in the wrong place. So get your butt where the fish are. Do everything wrong, you're probably going to catch some, especially here in Michigan.
You talk about wrong lures, and you mentioned color a minute ago. Do you think most anglers put too much emphasis on the color of the bait?
Absolutely. If you pick a lure out of the box and even think about color before you figured out where, how deep, how fast, what size the lure should be, what shape the lure could be, if you worry about color before any of that, you're missing the boat. You're putting a cart before the horse, as they say. That's why we teach our 8 steps, and color is last. Color is the last thing to figure out. Once you figure everything else out, then you can dial in the color.
Can we go
very, very few times?
Can we go through those 8 steps? Are you willing to do that?
Sure, absolutely. Right. So step 1 is be in the right location. Step 2 is to know how deep the fish are and have your lures above the fish. Step 3 is to have your Step 2 is to know how deep the fish are. Step 3 is to have your lures above the fish. Step 4 is your lure speed. Step 5 is lure shape, and then lure size, and then lure color, and then lure action, then lure color is last.
Wow. You say put your baits above the fish. How far? Are you talking 6 inches or are you talking 3 feet?
So every day is going to be different. My rule of thumb is my first original, we call it the box of death. That's what we're trying to find out, is where can my baits be in the water and still get bit? We call it the box of death. I start on a normal day, let's say we're marking fish, 15, 16 feet down over 20, 25 feet of water. I'll start, 2 to 8 feet above the fish. And then you will immediately start to see a pattern. Clearer water, fish will come a little higher. Here's something that guys really blows their mind. The colder the water is, the further a fish will come to get a bait.
That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense at all. At least to me, it doesn't.
The warmer the water is, the closer your bait has to be to the fish.
All right, explain.
Okay. So usually what happens in those situations is cold water is the closer you get to the surface, the warmer the water is. So the warmer the water is, the more bugs, the more bait there is. Walleyes don't always want to be up in that high part of the water column. Sometimes they like to be a little lower. Maybe sunlight penetration pushes them down, water clarity pushes them down. Maybe they don't want to be in as warm waters at the surface. Maybe they like where they are at 15 feet. And they'll come up 6, 8, 10 feet to grab a bait and then go right straight back down. Here's how we know that. If you do a lot of serious fishing in March, April, October, November, December for walleyes with offshore boards, notice the difference in your strikes, the way your board acts in the summertime, where your board just kind of slides back and goes straight back, as opposed to the cold water period where your board will go back about 3 inches and go straight down like a bobber. Those are fish coming up 6, 8, 10 feet, grabbing your bait and going back down to where they were, as opposed to staying where they were, grabbing the bait and just sliding backwards. So we know that for a fact that the colder the water is, the higher you can run your baits above the fish.
You mentioned speed in there, too, in your 8-part hierarchy. You and I have had this discussion many, many times. You continue to push the envelope on speed, Lance?
Yeah, we were a little slow this year. We very rarely got over 3.2 this year. So, 2.8, 2.9, 3 was kind of our number this year, which for us is slow. It's a half mile an hour slower than normal. I very rarely fish below 2.5. I'm a big believer in creating a situation where fish have to react to a bait. I think that's a big deal. I think the longer you give a fish a chance to look at a bait, the less chance he has of biting it, especially with artificial spoons and crankbaits. I think the faster you go, you create a more erratic action on your bait. You create more of a movement that something's getting away from a fish. You create a competitive urge, and if you got multiple fish in a spot, one wants to get it so the other ones can't. You create a curiosity. I don't know what it is, but I want to see, as opposed to trying to get that fish to actually eat a bait. We're getting them to strike a bait. There's a big difference between a feeding fish and a striking fish. They're two completely different things. And when you start to realize how fish are actually attacking your bait, you can start to adjust your speed accordingly. Slow down a little bit if you can tell they're feeding. Speed up if you can tell they're striking. And at some point, you'll get to the point where the fish go, you can't go that fast, and you just go a little slower. But most guys don't ever get to the best speed because once they catch a fish, they stop. Once you catch a fish, that's when now you know you're in the right spot. You got the right shape lure, the right speed. You got everything going. Now you just need to change the speed. So if you catch a fish at 2, go 2.2. Okay, you catch another fish. Okay, go 2.5. You catch another fish. Go 2.7. You catch another fish. Go 2.9. Don't catch any. Well, you just figured out that you can go 2.7. Well, 2.7 versus 2 over the course of a 5-hour day, I'm going to cover 3.5 more miles of fish than you are. I'm going to put my bait in front of more stupid fish. I'm going to catch more, not because I'm a better fisherman, because I have more chances of actually getting a bite. So the math works out.
You can't reach a given speed that you might want because why? Because your lures are going to blow out, or what's the determining limiting factor there?
So crankbaits, it's tuning. I watch guys all the time grab a crankbait, take it out of the box, and put it on their line and start letting out 40, 50, 60 feet. What are you doing? Well, I'm letting it out. Well, how do you know it's running straight? Huh? The offshore crankbait tuner tool is something we use religiously on our boat. We have 3 of them on the boat, one on each corner, one on my neck all the time. I don't put a crankbait in the water without checking and make sure it's tuned properly. Spoons will get out of tune. We fish the Warrior spoons, and there's 5 distinct bends in the Warrior spoon that gives us its action that works, down to a mile an hour and up to about 5. But you catch 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 fish, and you got your players in there, you're jigging around. That spoon sometime will lose its shape. So you just find another one, you kind of lay the bad spoon on top of a good one, and you just kind of press it down and get the shape back. So the only way you're going to have a problem at speed is if you don't take care of your baits. You don't tune your crankbaits. You don't keep your hooks right. You don't get your spoons, keep them in shape. That's all part of the process of making sure that everything's working properly so you can go fast. Most walleye crankbaits I fish, you can go 4 mile an hour. They're not going to blow out if you tune them. If you don't, anybody that's ran Hottentots knows, right? You get up to 2.3, 2.4, 2.5, and they're up on the surface, like a surface lure for bass. And
Lance, do you have time for the coveted third segment?
Oh, Michael, I always have time.
There we go. Lance Valentine coming up after the break in the coveted third segment of Outdoor Magazine. Lance Valentine, Teachin Fishin, teachinfishin.com. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Houghton Lake on 2 stations, the Twister 92.1 WTWS and Powerhouse Blowtorch Station 98.5 WUPS. You can hear us in Ludington on News 97.98, 98.7 WLDN, and you can hear us just down the coast in Muskegon on WKBZ 1090 AM. We're talking now with the man himself, Lance Valentine of Teachin Fishin. I've talked to Lance, I can't tell you how many times, but I can tell you every time I learn something. Sometimes a bunch of somethings, sometimes just one something, but every time I talk with Lance, I learn something. And Lance, I appreciate that. Thank you. I have learned so much from you over the years.
Well, I appreciate the compliment, and that's good. It's good to know. It's good to know that I'm not just running my yap.
Well, you might be running your yap too, but I'm learning something while you're doing it.
That's good to know.
Hey, listen, I got to ask you now. Let's talk about Saginaw Bay. The season started out really strange, in my opinion, at least. The water was crystal clear. Because of that, I got off to a slow start. But where are you now? Are you still after the walleye there, or have you turned your attention to something else now? Because it's traditionally the time of year when it starts to slow down.
Yeah, so it's this is kind of my time off. I haven't been fishing in about a week. We were still fishing that shallow water up north of Pinconning last time out. We did well. We got 21 fish, but I'm going to tell you, we had 14 tons of weeds. It really was starting to get frustrating, not so much necessarily on the lures, but, loading the boards up really fast. And, we went from our traditional, 14 crankbait spread down to a 10 crankbait spread, 5 on a side, just so we could kind of keep everything halfway clean. So it's that time of year, we're in this transition. We don't feel it because it's still, 80-some degrees every day. But, we're scrubbing temperature at night. We're getting these clear nights that are fairly cool, kind of light sweatshirt weather in the morning, light sweatshirt weather in the afternoon or in the evening. And, hot afternoons, these fish are temperature's starting to scrub. Really deep weeds that don't get a lot of sunlight, especially in dirty water, are starting to slowly die and not give off oxygen, but give off, CO2. So lots of things are changing in the fish's world. They're getting this signal from nature that it's time to start thinking about feeding up for fall. So you're starting to see a mini migration from flats towards steeper structures where they'll be in the next, at the end of the next month, where they can move up and down really quickly and change their depth. So this time of year for me, this is kind of my time of transition from a really intense April, May, June, July fishing schedule, getting ready for my really intense October, November Lake Erie trophy fishing schedule. This is kind of my transition of, a little bit of family time, play a little bit of golf, get my gear ready. As the gear just takes a beating over the course of as much as we fish. So, reels in to get repaired, line counters to get fixed, line counters to recalibrate, rod guides to fix. And so I'll fish once or twice a week, maybe take a friend or two, maybe take some family members, maybe pick up 1 or 2 little charters here that maybe got canceled over the year. But this time of year, I kind of slow my fishing down because it is, I like easy fishing. I don't like it when it's hard. So it's getting a little tough right now. Perch fishing's getting good, though.
Well, and I know what you mean. Even I see this. I take out a lot of people who are not experienced fishermen, and God bless them. They don't realize it because they don't know until I show them. But they're really hard on my gear. Really hard on my gear. Yeah. And you see this 10 times more than I do. But, yeah, it does take a toll.
Yeah. So this is kind of my time to transition from, all that, again, it's been a goofy year the last couple of years, but traditionally we start the 3rd or 4th of January with shows and seminars around the road all of March. We get 2 or 3 days to get ready to get to Detroit. We go, 7 weeks every day at Detroit. We take 2 or 3 days off. We take the Ingrid Quest up to Saginaw Bay, and we're 7. We do 10 to 12 trips a week every week through the first week of August. And at some point, you just got to go, I need to breathe. So I build in some me time to do things that I like to do, to play a little golf, to work around the yard, to spend some time with my wife, take a little vacation. And that's what we do right now until we get dialed into going 100-mile-an-hour again in the fall fishing mid-October through Thanksgiving.
You mentioned Angler Quest, and we're not going to let the cat out of the bag here at all. I'm prefacing this, but boy, are there some exciting things coming with this new model year or what?
Yeah, I had a Michigan Walleye Tour meeting up at Bay City last night, and I ran up to the boat to get a few things and kind of check on a few things, and they're up there doing the photo shoot, and got to see some of the new stuff, got to talk to some of the film crew, and talk to Kristen Monroe, who does the marketing, and our good friend John Littlefield was up there, and so we sat around the campfire for about an hour and kind of chatted and saw some of the new stuff, and yeah, it's going to be 2022 is going to be a pretty exciting year for Angler Quest.
Sure is. And speaking of exciting things, you mentioned Lake Erie. You are going to be able to do your what do you call your fall event down there?
Fishing Education Weekend.
You're going to be able to do it?
Yep. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we did it last year. We've got everything ready, so it'll be November 4th through the 7th. If people want to follow our Teachin Fishin Facebook page, you'll see all the details there. We'll have sign up here probably in about 2 weeks. So we're going to be limited the number of people we can take. So that will fill up really fairly quickly. So once we get the sign up out, we're going to let our Teachin Fishin Anglers Club members have first crack for 2 weeks. Then we'll open up to the public, and I'm pretty sure we're going to fill our 100 spots without any problem again this year. So, that's 4 days of seminars every day, seminars every morning, fishing together in the afternoon and sharing information on the radio or through, we use Facebook chat now because it's a lot easier. Seminars every night, guest speakers every night. Everything's included, all your meals, all your lodging, boat ramp, all that stuff is included. You just got to show up with your boat and a partner and go fishing.
Lance, always a pleasure. Teachinfishing.com and on Facebook as well. Good fishing to you. We'll talk again soon. We'll take a break on the Outdoor Magazine show and wrap up this week's show after the break. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Saginaw on WSGW AM and FM, 790 AM, 100.5 FM. In fact, I am in the studios of WSGW right now. But for 3 hours each week, I can get away with calling this part of the building the Outdoor Magazine studio. And the way I can do that is I have a sign behind me that says the Outdoor Magazine radio show. I couldn't do this, though, without help from my friends here at WSGW. This time around, Charlie Rude, who's in here in the studio with me. The crowd is it's down a little this week. Usually we have people standing 3 or 4 deep, lining the driveway, waiting to see Charlie as he leaves the studio here. I don't know, there's something, I don't know if it's the heat or what, but the crowd is down. We probably only got a couple hundred people waiting today to see Charlie as he leaves. Charlie, appreciate your help as always. My friend Dave Miner is not available this week. Dave is going through some health problems, so I'd appreciate it if you could keep him in your in your thoughts and prayers. But Dave is a pretty tough guy and a pretty resilient guy, so I'm confident that he will be back with us very soon. I've had a lot of people say, "Hey, what about plans for a Wednesday night live?" In person at the restaurants. Still working on them. Oscar and Joey's is not open right now on Wednesday nights, Thursday through Sunday, so we can't do that. I've been talking with the folks at the Lumberjack restaurant in West Branch, the Forward Corporation restaurant there. We want to get something going. The first one that we actually have firmed up, a Wednesday night live in person, will be Wednesday, September 8th at Jay's Sporting Goods as part of their 50th anniversary celebration. I have not worked out all the details on that one with Matt Poet, Jay's marketing director, but I am sure that we will encourage people to join us in the store that evening, maybe even with a couple of giveaways. So you might want to pencil that one in on your calendar. Wednesday night, September 8th at Jay's Sporting Goods in Clare. And again, that is part of their 50th anniversary celebration. I will be at the Clare store on Saturday the 10th, the 11th. What is that? Let me look it up real quick. Because I'm going down to the Big Woods and Water Outdoor Weekend, Friday night the 10th, and then Saturday the 11th I'll be at Jay's as part of their anniversary celebration. So how cool is that? Speaking of cool things, I hope you can tell it when I talk with Lance Valentine. I just truly enjoy talking with him. I find him to be absolutely fascinating. And as I said earlier, it is such a blessing to be able to talk with guys of Lance's caliber, because I do it every week here on the show. I do my best to find the very best guests that I can every week for this show. Now, I'm not always successful. I admit that. Some shows are better than others. Absolutely. But one of the benefits of being around the industry, the business for so long, is I know a lot of people. And I have access to a lot of people, and I can get to a lot of people who are really top tier, top-notch, absolute experts when it comes to a given topic. And in my case, of course, it's going to be hunting or fishing or shooting or trapping or wildlife issues or conservation issues or wild game cooking. It's going to revolve around the outdoors. Because in a lot of ways, my life, in some ways, does revolve around the outdoors. Yes, I've got my faith, I've got my family. Of course, those are number 1 and 2. But beyond that, you know, my job is talking about the outdoors. My job, and I smile when I say this, my job is to try to get out and go hunting and fishing as much as I can, so I can at least somewhat knowledgeably talk about it. I don't have to be an expert because I know a lot of experts, but I do have to have at least a working knowledge and a casual knowledge of the subjects that I'm talking about to be credible, maybe. Credible might be the word. As you are hearing this show, I am back from White River, Ontario, Canada. And you have me at a disadvantage this week because we're doing some time shifting. And here in the studio, as we wrap up this week's show, I haven't left yet. But as you are hearing the show, I will have returned. If you're curious on how that hunt went, you can go to my Facebook page or my Twitter feed or Instagram as well. I'm Avery Outdoors or Mike Avery Outdoors, just to check it out. Maybe there was a big bear during this trip. Maybe there wasn't. But I'm excited about it. I haven't been back to Ontario in about a year and a half because of COVID. The border has opened up. We'll see. It's going to be a full moon the first night of the hunt. I had not realized that. That dampens my enthusiasm a little because I do not like hunting any big game animal, whether it's a deer or bear or anything, I guess, on a full moon. The good news is it's not coming into a full moon. The hunt starts on a full moon, so it's going to be getting better every day after that. But we'll see. Hey, my website is MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Encourage you to check that out. Visit that. Doing a slight revamp on it coming up here in the next few weeks. And my email address is mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. You can always use that address to reach out to me with questions, comments, suggestions, criticisms, anything. I want to know what you have to say. Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Don't forget about the Wednesday night lives on social media every Wednesday night at 7. And I will talk with you next time right here on Outdoor Magazine.